All right, and we back. Gonna talk a little bit about the NBA trade deadline. It was a hot one. We had the most All-Stars traded, I believe, ever, or former All-Stars traded. We had the first All-NBA for All-NBA trade in God knows how long. Obviously, the Dallas Mavericks trading away Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis, a trade that nobody saw coming. Everybody thought Shams was hacked when it came out. Obviously, Luka got traded AD. Levine goes to Sacramento. De'Aaron Fox goes to San Antonio. Chris Middleton gets traded to Washington. I think he's a buyout candidate. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. Andrew Wiggins gets traded to Miami for Jimmy Butler, who signs a 2-year extension in Golden State. Brandon Ingram was traded to Toronto in a really weird deal. D'Angelo Russell got traded back to Brooklyn from LA for Dorian Finney-Smith. That happened a couple weeks ago, but still want to talk about that trade. But really, I want to talk about buyout candidates and landing spots for said buyout candidates. We talked about the All-Stars and Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton is a guy I think he's going to get bought out in Washington. I know it's slightly unrealistic considering he has a $34 million player option in next season. But I don't necessarily see how Chris Middleton fits in Washington. I know the Wizards' plan for now is to hold on to him, who played with Malcolm Brogdon, who's still in Washington. But turning down that it wouldn't be shocking for me, right? The Wizards are one of the worst teams of all time. Like, legitimately, I think that the requirement of this recording are 8-40. And Chris Middleton has spent most of his career playing on a title contender or at least a playoff lock. Declining that option, betting on his ability to secure a longer-term contract, over the rest of the season makes at least some form of sense. And the Memphis Grizzlies are a great spot where they could do that. The Memphis Grizzlies just traded Marcus Smart. You're looking for a big wing who can defend. Every team is. And at the end of the day, if you're not, you could sign him on a minimum deal if you're Memphis, and you could get someone with proven playoff experience. He can shoot, he can score. He's just hasn't been the same player since injuries, but you're telling me he couldn't re-find that status in a place like Memphis? Again, Memphis could use a boost on the wing. They were connected to Jimmy Butler, but he didn't want to go there. Middleton's shooting could take pressure off John Morant. I love that fit for Chris Middleton. Next, I want to talk about Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown traded from Toronto to New Orleans in the Brandon Ingram trade. It was a surprising trade, right? I don't think many people saw Toronto as a landing spot for Brandon Ingram. Obviously, Bruce Brown included in that trade for salary purposes. And at the end of the day, Bruce Brown, a guy, they sent him to New Orleans. They're not going to sniff a play-in spot. They're terrible. Riddled with injuries, but terrible. A buyout feels almost imminent for Bruce Brown. And I think Brown would be a huge fit, a great fit for the Houston Rockets. He's got guard and big man skills, a very unique player. Obviously, we saw Bruce Brown help lead a younger Denver Nuggets team to an NBA title 2 years ago. They already have a decent amount of redundancy in terms of what Bruce Brown brings to the table in a Torrey Easton or in a Amen Thompson. But Brown would give them another bench player who could operate in either sides of a pick and roll. Who the hell? While also fitting in the team's defense-first ethos. I mean, he is a stud. He hasn't been able to recapture the Denver Nuggets magic that he had on that team, but I think it would give him more time on a title contender or at least a playoff team like the Houston Rockets, and I think that could reinvigorate him. Being in Toronto, and then he was traded from Indy, and Indy really didn't look like that. Like a title contender until late last season after he left. In Houston, they could use a little veteran leadership. They have Jeff Green, they have Steven Adams, but listen, veteran leadership at that guard spot, a la Bruce Brown, that would be huge for late game situations, late game tight contests. You guys know the drill. Another Wizard, the Malcolm Brogdon, the Orlando Magic. This is a team that I think could use a player like Malcolm Brogdon. They have Orlando Magic do. It's one of the most intriguing front courts, led by Paulo Banchero and Franz Wagner. But their offense is atrocious. Obviously, that's no help to Paulo Banchero or Franz Wagner. But Malcolm Brogdon, if he can stay healthy, I think he could help the Orlando Magic. For his career, the six-man winner, 15 points, 5 assists, 2 threes on 39 from deep and 87 from the free throw line, so he can shoot the ball. And that is the one thing this Orlando Magic team cannot do. They cannot shoot the damn basketball. They can't stay out of the lane. And at the very least, he could be a player who could provide shooting and playmaking off their second unit, and he's a veteran spacer that could fit in well with the starting lineup. The final guy I want to talk about, another guy that didn't get traded, obviously neither did Malcolm Brogdon, but Ben Simmons. I think Ben Simmons would be a great fit for the Los Angeles Clippers. Prior to the trade deadline, the Los Angeles Clippers' primary playmaker off the bench was Kevin Porter Jr., who's now on the Milwaukee Bucks. And although Kevin Porter Jr. was willing to take threes off the bench, and obviously Ben Simmons doesn't shoot outside of 8 feet or 10 feet or whatever you want to say, this might be one of the rare cases where that's a good thing. Kevin Porter Jr. is shooting 25% from 3 this season. And when you compare Simmons' refusal to even shoot that shot, that doesn't actually seem like a bad thing. And although he's not the elite defender he was back in the day, he's still 6 inches taller than Kevin Porter Jr. and much more consistent on that end. And during his minutes with James Harden, Norman Powell, Kawhi Leonard, Simmons' passing and his ability to play in transition could be a nice boost for an offense that's currently ranking in the bottom 10. This is a team that could use something a jumbo-sized playmaker like a Ben Simmons fits anywhere. And at the end of the day, I really like these fits. The trade deadline was awesome. I might make another video talking about the trades, but at the end of the day, I wanted to talk about some buyout candidates because I think that's what people aren't talking about. Buyout market's obviously always really incredible. But yeah, you guys enjoyed this. Let me know, comment down below what your trade deadline was, what your team is, and how did they do. And at the end of the day, what trade were you most shocked by outside of the Luka trade? Because the Luka trade obviously shocked everybody. Comment down below what you want to see me do next. Make sure to like and subscribe. And if YouTube thinks you're gonna like this video, find out if they're right.